see you here.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Good to see you here. All right. Thanks to the interpreters being here at morning. And we'll get started. We'll just do our official roll call and get things going. So this is call to order. Then we do the pledge of allegiance. Then we do the roll call. I thought they were pledge of allegiance first. Okay. Face the flag, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You should take that pledge. About this country.
Right.
I'm sorry. Let's do a roll call. Let's see who's here. Like I know, Ken Jones, present. Gary Farmer.
I'm here, sir.
Oh, that's good. Ron Boyette.
Present.
Dr. Dave Golden.
Yes, here.
Okay. Sharon Locke.
Here.
And Kevin Irvin.
Here.
So we all here and accounted for, as well as Rachel and Mandy and Cheryl. Thank you all for being here. And, we're just going to go right through the process. Approval of the agenda. You have the agenda, should be in your packet. Take a quick look and see if there are any changes or additions you consider.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move we accept the agenda with no discussion as presented.
Okay. It's been moved and have a second.
Second.
Okay, second, Dave Delton. All in favor? All similar sign. Thank you. Okay. We'll start with approval of the minutes. I didn't read those myself, but
They're not in your packets. They were emailed to you
oh,
about the week after the meeting.
you're probably right. I'm sure, but I have not read them. We'll see if they got it. Anyone have any comments about the minutes of the last meeting? If you read them, if not, we'll just hold it till the next meeting. Okay, we'll do what you say. We'll hold it.
Okay, so motion, I would say motion to table the approval till next meeting.
Motion, I need a motion to table the approval of the last meeting.
Motion to table the approval of the last meeting.
What was it? Because we haven't, because we don't have minutes in the fact we didn't read them. I didn't read them. Second.
I'll second.
Okay, second. Yeah. Thank you, that.
How about, yep.
Okay, all in favor of delaying approval of minutes? Okay. Rob, I see a look on your face that I kind of read sometimes. Okay.
Point of order?
I probably would not have taken it. I would have passed the reading of it to the next meeting,
Okay.
deferred reading of it to the next
Okay,
meeting.
the terminology. Okay.
Technically, we have to vote to take it off the table and then do it at the next meeting after that. So it's done now.
Yep. I just want to know that. Okay, thank you. Is there another comment?
This is Kevin. So I did want to ask real quick, Mandy, do you mind sending those out again?
I can send them again, yes.
Okay.
I apologize that I didn't read them because she did send it to me and I know the meeting's minutes.
No, just admit, just to be honest, you're not alone. You are not alone,
Okay.
They were
okay?
sent to everybody.
Yes, you were. You said, I remember that. Okay. Mandy's doing her job well, and we just got to learn how to do ours better. Move on to celebrations and follow Cheryl.
Okay, so not a lot has happened because of our inclement weather. We were out a few days, and the state we are only allowed to use 5 remote learning days So luckily, we do have quite a few hours built into the calendar. So if we don't have to miss any more, we should be in good shape. If we do miss a couple more days, we may have to make those up and figure out, where we're going to make those up. But right now, we're in good standing. But a lot hasn't happened because we haven't been here for 2 weeks and we only have a few weeks in between the board meetings. But we, unfortunately, because of the weather, the Mason-Dixon tournament for basketball got canceled. It was scheduled to be in Tennessee and they got hit even harder than we did. So they were actually the ones that canceled it. And then our last game for basketball was scheduled against Dash and that got canceled because of circumstances beyond our control. So we weren't able to have any other basketball games to finalize the season. So that was disappointing to the team, but they have next year to look forward to. So we're hoping that the weather will cooperate and stay away from the Mason-Dixon tournament. On Friday and Saturday, we have the NCAD conference, and we are actually, one teacher is going to actually go to the conference offerings, and then we've been offered to set up a vendor table. So we'll have 2 staff members running that vendor table. It's put on by North Carolina's Association for the Deaf, but it's basically geared towards teachers of DHH students. So we're hoping to just make put our name out there once again and let people know that we are open for business, so to speak. And just the feedback that we were receiving from the EC conference was that a lot of people did not know that we were still open. And so, we're just trying to be visible whenever possible. And then I was hoping I'd be able to go, but I have a meeting at 1 o'clock on Friday. So I was able to get one of our teachers to go in my place. And so we have Melissa White and Barbie Cobble going to represent us.
And where's the conference?
It is in Greensboro.
Oh, Greensboro.
I also met with ECU on Friday, and they are the school that won the North Carolina Collaboratory grant. And so they are doing a research study on ENCSD. But it's really exciting because I think I mentioned it before, just the collaboration opportunities that both schools have available to us. We're looking really forward to that experience and collaboration with one another. So Rebecca Clark Stockamp, and she's their IT accessibility for EC students, and just looks at how technology can better engage students and meet their needs as well. And then Kristen Krupa Burnett, and she is a literacy and special ed associate professor as well. And so she knows about like IEPs and EC, and they're just really looking at not only our budgeting and our finances, but our classroom instruction and just what's working, what's not working, and then making some recommendations to the state. And that was pretty much prescribed by the legislation. So we're looking forward to that process, and hopefully we'll have a lot of good news to share. Our next board meeting, the 2 of them are going to try to come so that they can be in person. I think they're actually watching the board meeting today. And then we'll bring them in so that you can have an opportunity to see who they are in person. And they will be on our campus a good bit, observing and talking with our teachers and other staff as well. And that's pretty much all I have for. Yes.
Question? This is Kevin. Those 2 ladies who are involved with the research, is there any way that they're also involved with AI, artificial intelligence?
Well, the IT person, she knows all about AI. What part of AI are you interested? Just-
This is Kevin. So AI is a new thing, right?
Right.
As we all know. And so we're seeing a lot more happen within the deaf community where AI is showing up a lot more. And so we're using MES. Oh, memes. We're using memes. You know, characters, comic characters who are signing things. And we're seeing those pop up. So those types of uses. So when something like that pops up, kids, of course, are going to be fascinated by that. So that's where I'm just thinking, you know, we just need to be in the know, at least as much as possible, programs and things that could help our deaf students.
So we definitely, we actually have a AI expert on our staff, and she's sitting in this very room. She presented at the NC Ed symposium just a couple weeks ago, actually last week, and she did a fabulous job, all the feedback that we received. So she's done a lot of research, she's attended a lot of trainings on it. We also, ECU is very familiar with all the software and that's available for accessibility. And so they may introduce us to some new things that we're not familiar with. But we are, you know, encouraging our staff, especially to use AI. We have in our policy, you know, in middle school, the use that it should have, as well as the high school level. So it's age appropriate. And then as, you know, new tools are developed, we may have to look at that a little bit differently. But for right now, we have it kind of established. This is what they are allowed to access and how much they're allowed to access it to use in the classroom and how much they are at the high school level as well.
That is actually driven by North Carolina. They have very specific and clear guidelines, and they just recently came out with EC guidelines and AI use.
Question. I just wanted to add, sorry, Kevin. NTID, there's a woman by the name of Erin Fison. She actually received a grant about developing AI for English and grammar in order to improve student performance with AI. That might be somebody worth reaching out to. Just a thought. And this is Kevin. So I have no clue how ChatGPT, all of that works, but I do find it fascinating and it is interesting. And at other times I find it terrifying, you know, because I see how people can abuse it. So
Well,
it's something to think about. And then this is, unfortunately, it hurts our environment as well. This is sharing. So that scares me. It can hurt our environment.
And we always have to walk that fine line. And, you know, especially with our students, because we want them to learn how to write and on their own. And so how much you use that within a classroom setting, you know, for adults, it's wonderful, but when we're still trying to work with those students on grammar and punctuation and all of the skills that they need to be successful, we've got to walk that fine line of access versus skill development.
Right. It's a challenge. Yeah,
Yes.
It's still new.
Mm-hmm. And we also know that our students did not do well with online learning when we were during COVID years. And so how much we use technology is always a question as well. That paper pencil can still do a lot of good, especially when helping you with your memory of information when you're writing it down. It's not the same on the computer. So we always want to walk that, you know, have that balance. Our robotics program is actually, oh, I'm sorry. I went into my report. Is that okay?
Superintendent's report's next.
Okay. All right. So ENCSD Robotics Fundraising, they have kicked off their fundraising opportunities. They've sent letters to businesses that would be interested in STEM as well as STEAM. And some of you may not have heard STEAM, but that's when you put the art into the science and technology and math and English. So it's just another branch of that. And that was basically, asking businesses that may be interested in along the robotics field to make donations. So we're hoping that that will at least give us some, donations and some recognition there. We also have bingo night scheduled on February 24th. And it is one of the nights that we have the ASL group coming already. So we'll do some bingo activities at the beginning or before that starts. It'll be $5 per card. And they have a lot of donations that have been given for gifts for winning, as well as they may be doing some raffles and things of that nature. We have our deaf awareness group. They are actually setting up some table displays and just having, a good opportunity. We have, I think there's a Girl Scouts group that's coming. And then we have quite a few church groups. And so it should be a great opportunity just to bring some people on campus and, raise some funds for the robotics trip. And, we're working hard. They've teamed up with Candyman. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Candyman, but they offer a lot of different items for sale. And 40% of those proceeds will go back to the robotics program. So, and that information is all available on our website. There's a QR code that people can go to if they want to look at what's available, and any donations would definitely be appreciated so that they can go to Colorado.
I have a question. I saw the flyer yesterday, bingo. Is it 1 hour? Is it 67? Is that the time?
That's what's on the flyer, but I'm going to have to check because there was something about having some events before that. And so I'm going to have to make sure they blast that if they've changed the timing since that first flyer.
Yeah, because it was announced to deaf senior citizens, and they announced it. And when I looked at the time, it said 6 to 7. So I was a little bit confused.
Yes. So initially, we were not going to have an ASL class during the month of February. And Melissa Chapman decided that she was going to be available. So she would go ahead and do that solo for the month of February. And then Rich would join her again in March just to kind of keep that going. And so they had to kind of work with the timing a little bit more because of that still being scheduled. So we will blast that and I will get them on that right away.
Yes, sir.
Just for your information only, Morganton has a foundation, and they work very closely with the people there in Morganton and surrounding counties. And I'll talk to you a little bit later on about that. But where I'm going with this is one of their organizations that helps them a great deal is a IT STEM organization there in Morganton. And they have decided to pick up the entire cost of their robotics team to go to Colorado. So this puts impetus behind us at some point in time. I know we're still walking, but we really got to look at establishing a foundation for ourselves. That's just an example of how this has helped our sister school.
Okay. Thank you.
This is Sharon. Yeah, the foundation does a lot of money through golf. They collect a lot of money that way in other events. So.
Okay, so we have some additional information regarding, one of the changes around accountability. We did develop a plan and submitted it. However, they wanted a lot more research. They pretty much wanted a research paper. So with resources to back the tests and assessments that we would be using. So we can basically put something together and develop that a little bit, our plan a little bit more in depth and give them the information, because all of the assessments that we were going to be using were research-based. And so they just want, because, you know, the State Board of Education, it's not all educators and they may or may not be familiar with some of those assessments. So they want, you know, us to basically indicate what journals would support the usage of those assessments and so forth. So we'll be working on that. ECU has actually agreed to help us work on that. And so we will be, you know, going more in depth and doing a deeper dive so that we can get a different type of report card for that accountability piece. But what they'll do in the meantime is just look at 3 years of data. But to be honest with you, I don't know if we will actually have enough data over the course of 3 years to put something together. So moving forward, one of the tests that we would really like to use is the Kendall ASL assessment, and it does receptive as well as expressive. And so we're going to look at going ahead and purchasing that and doing a baseline of where our students are currently. And then when new students come in, assess them on that within the first week or two so that we have their baseline and we can really see the growth in terms of those ASL skills. And, you know, the assumption that we have is that as their ASL skills grow and develop, you know, the academics will also grow and develop. Probably have a little bit of lag time between the two. But when students don't come, you know, with ASL skills or communication skills, besides like gesturing and things of that nature, or homemade signs, they have to learn the ASL skills before they can actually learn the content. And so, you know, that's one of our challenges that your LEAs do not have to deal with for the most part with their students. So, but we're constantly, we'll be looking at that, yes.
Are you coordinating this with Morganton at all, or?
We have talked about it a little bit. I actually had a call into Kristen and we both had a time set where we were going to do a Teams call. And unfortunately, she had an emergency on campus that she had to deal with. And so that got canceled, and the timeline that we were given, we didn't have much time to pull that together. So we are, that will be something that we'll continue to discuss though.
Do you know whether Morganton is hoping to do what we're hoping to do, which is to make a rationale rather than just the 3-year testing? Like, do you know their perspective on this?
Right. Like I said, we weren't able to connect on it before it was due, so. But I will definitely follow up with her. We talk periodically about everything that's going on.
Yeah, if they have good ideas, I mean, you certainly want to, you know, tap into that.
Right, yes. And for the budget, not a whole
This is
lot.
Karen.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I feel that something's going on. It just smells a little fishy. So why do they want to know the assessments that our children are to assess their language? Why do they want that? To be honest with you, we don't know. You know, a lot of our kids are language deprived, so we don't really know. I'm just wondering, what is the purpose? Are they trying to? Why are they trying to assess it?
So
I'm
with
just thinking outside of the box.
So with teachers, every school in the state that receives public funds, whether it's a charter school or an LEA school, they have to participate in EVOS. And EVOS is the system where all the data is put in regarding the assessments that the students take on the EOCs and EOGs that are required by the state. And so they put all that information into the EVOS system, And the system actually has a formula that it calculates all of the growth as well as the school's proficiency. And it breaks it down by subcategories, and it just provides a nice profile of that school's population in terms of how they've performed on those tests. ACT is part of that as well. And so that's the state's method of assessing teachers and evaluating where teachers are. And whether or not you agree with that, that's the process that's in place. And so they're wanting us to participate. In the past, we've been exempt from that, but now they're wanting us to participate. And the challenge is our group or our class sizes are too small to be part of that EGOS system. So we kind of have to look at our data differently, and we don't have access to that formula that SAS has created to do that growth rate and the proficiency rate. So we have to look at our data a little bit differently already.
This is Sharon. I want to add that we do assess the children, but we use the Canada. It's Canada's system. So the new system you were mentioning, ING, I'm not sure about that, but I know that the University of Gallaudet, they were willing to give feedback to see what the students' needs were, also to look at the IEPs as well. So I think it was helpful to see, so the teachers will know what level, what skill level, to make sure that there are no deficits, and to see how they can help the teachers help the students. This is Kevin. My concern is that this sets us up to fail. We're starting to compare our students to hearing students. There's no way we can be compared to the hearing population, because a lot of our students here, they are special needs students, to be honest. And when you compare to the hearing students, that it's not a comparison.
Well, and the way I look at this is it's an opportunity if we can get a different type of plan approved, where we're looking at the student's growth a lot more than what we're looking at proficiency. The proficiency for the state report cards is 80% and 20% growth. I'd like for the majority of that to be growth of our students, and looking at, what test would really assess that, of where the students were, and do a pre-assessment at the beginning of when they come, and then do the assessments at the end of the year to kind of see that growth. And are the strategies that we're putting in place and for our instruction, are they being effective for our students? And what areas do we need to tweak it? So I don't necessarily see that part of it as a bad thing. I think if they hold us to that same proficiency rate as the other schools, yes, I would agree with you on that. But I think if we could look more at the growth and kind of see where our students are and where their weaknesses are, and we can hone in on those weaknesses while we're building on those strengths.
Hey, did you have a comment?
Oh, the only thing that I was going to say was the state of North Carolina does require some kind of testing measures, and you understand it. I mean, we have to be accountable with our budgets, et cetera. And so to me, what they're doing is giving us the opportunity to choose an alternative way of measuring if we want to. But the bottom line is we have to have some measurement. We can't just not have a measurement. So this is sort of in place of the end of grade testing or end of course testing.
We still will have to do the end of course grading and end of course testing. However, we're hoping that it would be looked at by a small amount, small percentage of what they're evaluating.
This is Farmer. I was hoping to save this a little bit later on when I give my report on the council. But all 28 organizations that were represented at the council, not just education, all they talked about was positions and money and the lack thereof. So it was determined by all 28 that we had to have data. And in order to get data, you had to have analysis. And everybody has got their own way of analyzing progress. So they have put together a subcommittee to look at the way we analyze everything and try to reduce it to its lowest common denominator. And that was supported by the 2 senators and the House of Representative person present. They can't do anything without data. They turned to DPI and said, it should be very easy for you, sir, because you've got IEPs and you have got data. And I saw the body language drop on this individual as he explained that they had data reserved in something called Quadtrix, Qualtrics, and ECATS, ECATS. But since they had to cut back on all the positions in DPI, the 2 individuals responsible for taking care and storing and logging all of the IEPs and data have been dismissed. Therefore, all those programs are not there that record this. So that was very disheartening from everybody that listened, and the 2 senators and the House of Representative person said that they would look into this themselves. So it's all now, like Kevin says, it's all about analysis and how we present it to get money and positions.
That basically will take us right into our budget update, which unfortunately there's not a lot of information. We did, our admin team consisting of Simone, Hugh, and Susan and myself went to OSVM on Thursday. We had to present a justification. We completed a form for each area that we were requesting additional money. And with not knowing what's going to happen with our 21 positions, with not knowing if they're going to continue to allow us to keep those positions, and we will have some salary funds available from those vacant positions, we still are not sure. And so we have to kind of plan for the worst and hope for the best. And so what we had to do was look at our budget items that we had used in the past, that we still needed funded, whether we had that money or not, because we used that salary from vacant positions for transportation to reimburse our parents. We used it for our robotics, so there were a lot of things that were outside of each budget line that we were able to go ahead and pay for. And so what we basically did was we looked at 4 different areas, and those forms, they were pretty extensive. There were 19 questions, and about 5 of them were just check the box, but the other ones were explain in detail, and so it took a little while to do that. And so we had to prioritize each item that we were asking for funding for. And so we chose 4 areas. And the first one was our priority number 1, and that was the ADA campus-wide emergency visual alert system. And that would, right now we only have the fire alarm system that is visual, where everyone has access to that. So it would be other emergencies. And so we looked at, what equipment, we did a survey of different schools, including Gallaudet University, Florida School of the Deaf, a lot of schools across the nation, basically. Hugh's been on the phone a lot with those folks and just kind of seeing what works best for them and what systems they use, and what aspects of, what components of those systems do they use. And so we feel pretty good with the equipment that they're recommending, and it would definitely do a great job for us, and keep our staff and our students safe if there was an emergency on campus. And so that was our number one ask, basically. The second one was retention of vacant positions, because again, we don't know if the legislation is going to give us those positions, but we do need quite a few of them. We just had to hire a teacher at the elementary level, and if we get a few more elementary teacher or students, we may have to add a 4th grade teacher and a 3rd grade teacher. So we still have educators, increased population. You have to go with the dorm staff as well. You have to increase that. So it increases, then you have to increase, our custodial staff or maintenance staff, because there's more people on campus and more areas that would need to be cleaned on a more regular basis. So we put that in there as well. And then the third one is for our teachers. We are at an 8% supplement from the state, and our local LEAs in this area are at 10, 11%, and some of them are looking at possibly going up to 15%. So our overtime pay, our shift premiums, all of that came from those salaries that weren't being used. So we didn't have a line item budget for that. And so we have requested money to fund those supplements at a level equal to our surrounding area, as well as be able to pay people overtime if their overtime is needed, or those shift premiums for 2nd shift and 3rd shift. And then the last one that we requested was the transportation funds. Right now, this year, we received $200,000, but that is not recurring. So it's a one-time shot. And so we're asking for that to be recurring so that we can pay our families from home to the bus stops and back, as well as just keeping up with maintenance and, repairs and inspections and all of that on the buses. And we also have a couple of, we have too many buses, as well as our bigger bus that are rather old. And our bigger bus right now needs about $7,000 worth of work on it, but it's over 20 years old, and it has a lot of miles. And so we would like to try to replace that if possible. Yes.
Farmer speaking. That bus was here when I was here, and you gotta realize, we go to Tennessee, we go to Morganton, we go to Jackson, Mississippi, we go to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, we go down the road, and it's really important that we get that big bus, or a brand new big bus, maybe smaller than most of the activity buses you see running around. And it's important also that we don't have a governor on it at 45 miles an hour. I had to do that to Rome, Georgia one time. That was terrible. So anyway, I hope that will be ready for next year's athletic programs, if nothing else.
Is there anything we can do to help?
Kevin is mimicking what it's like to drive so slowly. I remember that.
So is there anything that we can do to encourage the state support?
Any conversations you want to have with the legislators, because they're hopefully going to be voting on a new budget in April, hopefully.
Yeah.
That's what everything is indicating. So, those conversations and explaining the importance of it to us is definitely something that may help. But
Is there a memo that we could put together with board signatures and staff
yes,
to send to, I'm not sure you send it to, I guess it's Buck Newton in that district, right? Senator.
Mhm.
Senator Buck Newton.
Yes.
Yes.
And Dante Phillips.
anything could help.
Well, that's what I'm looking for, so yeah, you just think about that one too.
Yeah.
That was good. Okay.
And I'm drawing a blank on the name of the program. But one of our contracted interpreters that would come and help out with our classes when we needed an extra interpreter, he has actually started a business in Rocky Mount, and they're going to do a ribbon cutting in March. And the ribbon cutting is going to be like on a Thursday. The meet and greet they're going to sponsor is going to be on a Friday, and then they're going to have a community day on Saturday. And what the event is they are inviting, I guess there's a deaf DJ, some deaf performers that are coming from like DC and New York and different places, and they're welcoming both the hearing and the deaf communities to come and interact with one another. And they said that it's going to be a great, performance and just an opportunity. He said that there is a pretty large group of deaf folks in Rocky Mount. And so, we're looking forward to it. They've asked us to set up a vendor table, and they've asked some other organizations so that we can, put information out there about the school, as well as some of the organizations that support DHH folks. And so we are looking forward to that. And for the life of me, I cannot remember the name of his new business. But it's going to really be advocating for DHH people and, helping them find the resources that they need. He also does some interpreting online for folks when they need it. But yes, so we're excited about that opportunity. And
When is that?
that is March 21st, I believe, is the date of the community day.
And who is the interpreter?
The interpreter, oh man. I'm drawing a blank, I'm so sorry. It will come to me.
That's okay.
It will come to me. I can see his business card. I can see his face, but, all right. If it comes to me, I'll share it.
Oh, that's
All
okay.
right. So Ed Leo is,
Can you say that again?
Ed Leo, it's EDLIO. And this is a website developing company. And so the current website that we are using, we are no longer allowed to use because it's not passing the security process that our IT materials have to go through. And so we've done some research, and we've had some meetings with Edleo online and looked at some of their examples, and they serve K through 12 communities and schools to really look at how we connect with families and put our information out there. They serve over 19,000 schools across the country, as well as districts. And then what they do is they have the website itself, but then they have mass notification systems via emails, text, voice, and push alerts and it happens within seconds. So we would actually integrate that into our emergency alert system, because right now the only mass communication system we have in place is through our Infinite Campus, and it takes about 15 minutes to get from the first person to the last person. So this will do it in seconds across the campus. So and then they also have a mobile app that's custom branded to the school. They have you can actually get it separate or integrate it into the website, but they have a process where you can set up a student store or a school store online, an auction site where you can have people bid on different items as a fundraiser. And so that would be part of the package as well. They do forms. You can arrange payment through that website where no money has to exchange hands. Receipts immediately distributed to that person. And it just offers a lot of accessibility tools to meet the ADA requirements on websites as well. So, and it's built around.
Is it expensive?
It'll be about $5,000 a year. But they manage it. We'll have some access to certain parts of it where we can update news and announcements and things of that nature. But then, the actual development of it and design of it, they will do. They'll meet with us and just, basically, what do you need it to have? And they'll put it together for us and manage that part of it. And it also complies with FERPA and COPPA regulations and all the rules and, that govern different information and student data as well. Great. So any questions before we go on to new business? Simone, did you have any updates?
We're going to public input, which we haven't done.
Yes, that's right.
Then we're going on to carry on NCD. Debt services.
So, yep, okay. Basically, I think it was last week, I went to Durham, and this is the third time I've gone to the council on deafness and hard of hearing. Every time I go, it's even more impressive. I took some videos this time and sent it to Cheryl and some of you that have never been. And there are basically 28 organizations represented there in a huge room with a big table. And interpreters everywhere, cart, everything that's said is printed out on screens. There are screens everywhere around. So access is not diminished at all, no matter what's said. And it appears to me, and I'm not a long-time member, but Kevin is, that they're getting ready to go in a brand new direction with brand new leadership and really expand what they're doing. They even have a brand new mission statement and a vision for what they want. And they're trying to introduce a different group that's in there every meeting. And that was extremely impressive, because sometimes we think we here at the School for the Deaf are the stars. We are the thrust behind whatever is out there for the deaf. And that's just not true. And I was able to see a Black organization that had been established for 15 years that served the Black deaf. I was able to see deaf blind, and the person that got up and spoke was totally deaf and blind. And he had everything interpreted and everything that he said in real time. I was totally overwhelmed. there is a organization of military people that became deafness because of their involvement with the different wars. Unbelievable. There was also a Spanish group there that have deaf children that are deaf themselves. They were the four that were presented this time. Of course, we were on the hot seat 3 times before, but we thought we were the only show in town. And so just not true. The program started off by Hope Turner. She's the assistant and she's deaf and she's married to the congressman or the House of Representatives. And she explained in finite terms how a bill is introduced and how it goes all the way through and is passed. And of course, her being deaf, I was stunned. It was so articulate. And not to say, and I shouldn't have been, but I just wish everyone could go. And if everybody, I took a video. I'd be happy to show you what goes on at these meetings. There's 2 breakout sessions.
Hope was the presenter this weekend.
I'm sure.
If I'm right, I think that meeting is publicly broadcasted on Facebook, on Facebook. So also YouTube. So it is
Yes.
broadcasted.
Yes, that's absolutely true. Everything is recorded. And if you go to the North Carolina Council of Deafness and Hard of Hearing and scroll down, it will tell you where to go to watch the whole thing. But it lasts a long time. I didn't get home till 4 o'clock. But they got breakout sessions, and then before, they only had 2. They had, you went for access or you went for education, and you separated and you went and you worked on those things. Next time, they're breaking it out, and from here on, there'll be 4 different sessions. And the education people were so overwhelmed with what they have to do that now the education people are going to meet once a month instead of waiting for every 4 months to meet. But they're going to do that on Zoom, and there was some pushback on that, but it passed. The 2 senators there, they were not overwhelmed. I mean, we did not pick on them, but they had a love for deafness, and they wrote and they wrote and they wrote, and they're going to be some of our biggest supporters. It's obvious, and of course, Brian Turner, who's married to Hope Turner, that's deaf, he is really a go-getter. He's going to help us. Like I said before, it was all about money. It's all about position for every one of these groups. And we see what we're facing. Just if you're interested, it's Chris, Measmer, is one of the senators, and Gail, Gale, Adcock, Adcoc, is the other senator there. So we'll be going back on August the 7th, 2026 to our next meeting. And they told me when I first got there, Gary, would you stay to the end? Because I didn't before. I got out of there when it didn't pertain to me or our school. And that was in the early afternoon. So I stayed to the late afternoon. And I said, why? And he said, we're going to present that your school and the Morganton School will be officially welcomed in. We got to do that legislatively because every 28 positions in there that are there because the legislature has deemed it appropriate for them to be there and recognized who they are. So it came down to the chairman he brought it up in new business, that it made good sense that we had the two schools in our organization. And then everybody went around the table, yes, 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 yes. Then the president said, can I have a nomination? Nobody got up to say anything, or a motion, excuse me. And I didn't know what to think. And then Lori Rook, who used to be a teacher here, a lead teacher, who now is over all the interpreters, she stood up and she made the motion that we be inducted. Then it was like 20 people raising their hand to second.
Who again? You said, inducted. The word was inducted.
Lori Rook. And so I don't know what the hesitation was, but I was worried for a minute. So I thought that would be voted on. Boom, we'd be in. No, they wanted to break it down. Do we ask a representative come that's the superintendent? Do we ask it to be a principal? Do we ask it to be a teacher? Do we ask for it to be a board? And then they're back and forth. And of course, I can say nothing. I'm only auditing everything like others in there. So finally, Brian Turner, the representative, said, look, it's got to go to the legislature. No matter what you guys decide, it's got to go to the legislature. Let me find out the exact wording we need to have on the motion. And let's just say, we won't ask a person to come, we will say a representative from that organization, ENCSD or NCSD. Everybody agreed on that. It was tabled to next meeting. So next meeting, I feel like we'll have to stay 4 o'clock again because it'll be new business and they will do it the right way. And then I feel with the support we've been able to engender the last 3 times that hopefully we will be presented to the legislature to make it happen. Of course, they can't do anything until the legislature gets back in town, but that's just the process and how they went through it. So that's all I've got about the council.
I would like to nominate Gary Farmer to be our representative.
Gary don't even buy green bananas anymore. I don't know how long I'm gonna live.
We'll let that go, okay?
Keep that in the minutes, yeah.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you for keeping us informed.
Any questions to Gary? If not, we'll move right ahead to new business. We talked about that already?
No.
Okay.
So there's quite a few policies that need a second reading.
Those are the ones that in that folder.
The second
The second
The
reading.
second reading were in your last month's folder, which in your folder now is for the first reading.
So were there any questions or concerns about the second reading ones that you received last time?
And those are the ones that are listed here.
Yes.
Correct. Yeah, just in red one taxes. Went down rate.
So it's the parental involvement. Any concerns about that one? The professional and staff development. And it was the prohibition against discrimination, harassment, and bullying. Title IX, non-discrimination on the basis of sex. Title IX, sexual harassment, prohibited conduct, and grievance procedures. prohibition against retaliation. Parental inspection of and objection to instructional materials. Graduation requirements. And revisions to technology responsible use. And then we had some revisions to public records. And that one was for retention, releases, and disposition.
So all these policies were recommended
For second
for
reading.
second reading by the policy committee and reviewed it. And so I'm going to ask, we're going to take them all at one time.
Mr. Chairman, if I note other discussions on the second reading, I move we accept the policies as presented, and I can read all of these again, or I can just say 1 through 10, and then they can be put in the minutes. Excuse me, 1 through 11.
Motion for approval.
I'll make a motion. Yes.
So we have a motion on the floor to approve the policies that the committee has reviewed, items 1 through 10. 11, sorry. Do I have a second on that?
This is Sharon, I second.
Okay, Sharon, thank you. Any further discussion, comments? All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. I
Okay.
thank the committee for their review and meeting on this as well. I'm sure as we go through time, there's always changes that come up, and that's part of the process. Thank you.
So now we'll move on to the first three policies. And so the committee has already read through them and met and reviewed it and the proposals. So the first one is student and parent grievance procedure, and that's 1740, 4010. And basically this gives parents and students a way to raise and resolve any concerns that they may have. And it protects their rights and ensures, that their concerns are addressed at the lowest appropriate level. So basically it's a structured grievance process applicable to students and parents or guardians. There's very clear definitions to support any understanding and consistent implementation of the policy and the grievance procedures themselves. There's an informal resolution option prior to initiating a formal grievance when that's appropriate. There's step-by-step procedures that are outlined for submitting and reviewing the grievance at each level. There's also timelines for responses and resolution to ensure that the grievances are addressed promptly. There's protections against retaliation to individuals who file a grievance. There's confidentiality to protect, anything that's related to federal and state laws. Accessibility provisions to ensure meaningful participation for all individuals is also included in the policy. Any questions?
So the next meeting, we will
Do the second.
second read and vote.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
This is wrong. I like the fact that the grievance policy ends with the superintendent. I just thought I would point that out to I'd like that.
Any other questions on that one or comments?
Thank you, Rob, for that. Yeah, I want to thank the committee too for the policy, bringing us forward, moving us forward each time. It's a lot of reading, I'm sure a lot of discussion, but it's the right thing to do.
Okay, so the next one is responding to complaints. It just basically establishes expectations and procedures for how we respond to those complaints, whether they be from students, parents, employees, community members, and it's consistent in a timely and respectful manner. It's basically, in place to promote transparency, accountability, and effective communication, while also ensuring that the concerns are addressed in an appropriate administrative level. And basically the key components of this one is it does a clear distinction between complaints and formal grievances. It identifies appropriate channels for submitting complaints. It also has expectations for prompt acknowledgement and response to complaints. Procedure and administrative review and resolution for complaints, guidance for documenting complaints and response consistent with records retention requirements that we are required to do, confidentiality protections in accordance with applicable law, both federal and state. There's also non-retaliation protections in place for those who may come forward, as well as just coordinating applicable policies when a complaint implicates a formal grievance process. And then it outlines the investigation and due process rights. Questions or comments on that one? Okay, and so the next one is employee grievance procedures, and this policy is 1750 and 7220. And basically this is for employees who would like to file a grievance, and the processes for them. And the key components of this one is it provides a structured grievance process available to all ANCSD employees. There's clear definitions of support, consistent understanding and implementation, informal resolution options to initiating a formal grievance when appropriate. And there's also step-by-step procedures that are outlined for submitting and reviewing grievances at each level. There's also protections against retaliation for employees who file the grievances in good faith. And it also confidentiality to protect the federal and state laws that are consistent and the staff. Also alignment with board policies governing investigations, complaints, and employee discipline.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I
Rob.
believe, this is Rob. I'm not used to doing that. On the bottom of page 3, I think there is a little bit of information that's been edited out. It should read last line at the bottom. Next to the last line should read, complainant may appeal the superintendent's decision to the EMCSD board. That should say trustees.
Thank you.
And then the next sentence should read only when instead of with grievance alleges. Chairman, Ms. Rob again. Since this is the first reading and we're catching, small things like that need changing, we don't have to do that in the form of motion. Since this is a reading, can't that be in?
It's first reading, so you don't even have to do that today. So y'all can take it and read it,
Understand.
and at some point, give your feedback if you have concerns or edits or things like that. And then when we go to approve it on second read, we can have made this edits.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Ron. Yes, Gary.
Gary speaking. To follow up what you said, Ron, just make it very clear that it's from a parent or a child, the grievance procedure stops at the superintendent. But if it's an employee, it stops at the board of trustees.
Right, moving on to the next one. Selection of instructional materials, 3,200. And this one is basically, it sets forth the criteria for how instructional materials are selected. And it outlines the standards and the curriculum goals and instructional practices. Make sure that they're in alignment with that. Consideration of accessibility, including materials that support DHH students and language development. It also does reviews the procedures for the review and approval of instructional materials. And it also makes provisions for the use of digital, print, and multimedia instructional resources. And reviews the expectations for compliance with copyright laws and licensing requirements, as well as opportunities for stakeholders input and instructional material selection process. So, we get feedback from the teachers after they review the materials. The SIT team, the principal reviews it as well. And usually they provide like samples to us so that they can be reviewed.
Move to the next.
All right, use of AI tools, and this is policy 3221. And this basically would establish expectations and guidelines for the responsible, ethical, and instructional use of AI at EMCSD. It's basically intended to support the innovation and learning while also safeguarding student privacy, data security, academic integrity, and accessibility for our students. Key components, it gives us definitions of AI. It also gives us what's permitted and what's prohibited uses of AI by students, staff, and contractors. Expectations for instructional use of AI to enhance teaching and learning. It also gives protections for student data privacy and compliance with FERPA and other applicable laws. Guidance regarding academic integrity, originality, and responsible use. Accessibility considerations to ensure equitable use of the AI tools. And it also gives staff responsibilities for supervision, instruction, and modeling appropriate use of AI. And it also ensures that compliance with all federal and state laws have been considered.
Is this a new policy or was that already established?
This is a new policy. They are actually just starting to really work on a lot of policies around AI. So not a lot of schools have them just yet. So.
Understood.
Yes, Dave, are we not using an AI powered note taker right now? Like, is that not AI?
Yes.
I think we're violating our policy. Are we violating ENCSD policy?
This is an
It's
open
currently
meeting, so
prohibited.
I think it's a fine line, but this is an open meeting, so.
Yes. Now, if it was closed meeting.
That's why we read the policy.
First reading.
All right, let's move on to the next.
All right, so the next one is focus on students, 4,000. And this basically affirms that the Board of Trustees' commitment to placing students at the center of all decisions, programs, and practices at ENCSD. The policy establishes guiding principles to ensure that the academic, social, emotional, and development needs of students drive school governance, instruction, and operations. And the key components of this one is just really gives us a clear statement that student learning, safety, and the well-being are the highest priorities. Expectations that the policies, programs, and decisions be evaluated based on what impact it has on the students. Recognition of unique linguistic, cultural, and educational needs of DHH students. There's a commitment to high academic standards, equitable opportunities, and inclusive practices. And a heavy emphasis on safe, supportive, and respectful learning environments. And it also supports collaboration among students, families, staff, and the broader school community. It also aligns with all federal and state laws that govern student rights and educational access. There's critical protections and non-retaliation for good faith grievance participation. And accessibility accommodations provided throughout the process. Supervisor responsibilities, document accommodation requests, ensures immediate HR referral, and enforce non-retaliation compliance. Also record keeping, there's a grievance records retained in accordance with state and federal requirements, including ADA and OSHA policies. It also ensures that all employees have access to fair, accessible, and safe grievance procedures while maintaining compliance with federal and state law. I'm sorry, I read the wrong one. That was the previous. So it basically follows all your Title IX, Title 504, ADA, FMLA, all of those responsibilities.
And next,
Right, remote learning.
I have a question.
oh, sorry.
Did you have a question, Kevin? Yeah, I wanted to emphasize the guided principle. It says, it's the third one that says accessibility for educational involvement, usage of ASL and other appropriate modalities. And then it says, make sure that educational, emotional, social, cultural needs are recognized and addressed. So the school has hired staff, they just need to hire staff to sign.
If they apply and they're qualified, we definitely do.
To meet, in order to meet this, because that's what's required here on this document.
We can only hire people who apply for the positions and who are qualified for those positions. So we have to make sure that they have the qualifications. And if there is someone that qualifies, our basic, we look at DHH, we look at ASL, and we look at the requirements, meeting those qualifications. And so our first preference would be to have all three of those. But if someone doesn't meet the requirements, we can't hire them for that position. There's very strict guidelines in terms of what the requirements for every position is. And they also have to be willing to work towards certification if they don't have that already.
Yeah, they need to hire someone who is skilled in Excel for sure.
Gary?
I know I'm splitting hairs here, but when you have a situation on attendance policy, where do you plug in that a child does not, or the parents will not let the child come back to school because of the fear of ICE?
It's always a case-by-case situation, looking at, the individual. Have there been attendance issues prior to that? Or is this new, completely new? And so you have to take all of that into consideration and, is the student making effort to get to work and do it at home? Is that available to him or her? And so you've got to look at the whole picture as opposed to just a piece of it.
And there's that provision in there for excused absences by the principal's discretion, so that's where you could plug that in.
But again, we have to look at, the attendance record prior to that concern.
Okay.
And then we have some policy revisions for 3061. And this has been updated. And this was the attendance policy itself. So we updated the remote learning days, including acceptable methods for demonstrating attendance during synchronous and asynchronous instructional days. We defined teacher responsibilities related to availability, instructional delivery, attendance documentation, and communication with students and families during those remote learning days. We added language addressing accessibility, equity, and compliance with IEPs, 504 plans, and federal disability laws to ensure that the students weren't penalized for their disability-related or technology barriers. We strengthened the alignment with NCDPI attendance reporting requirements and North Carolina compulsory attendance laws. We emphasized the use of supportive interventions and administrative oversight to address attendance concerns during remote learning. And we added clarification regarding teacher and staff utility or technology disruptions during remote learning days, including notification expectations and alignment with NC OSHR policies, NCDPI guidance, and ENCSD personnel procedures. And we also updated the legal references to reflect the revisions that we've made.
All right, so we understand what this policy is all about. You should read them and come prepared next time to make changes and approve. Okay. The next on our list is MOU, you said?
I don't think there are any updates on the MOU, right, Cheryl?
No,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Do we have we have closed session?
School calendar next.
Oh, your school calendar, sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay.
All right.
All right, so in your folders, you have the 2026, 2027 school calendar. And you should have a first shift, second shift, and third shift.
Look like this.
And your color coding at the bottom tells you what the colors are on the calendar itself. There's a lot of guidelines that schools have to follow in putting together a school calendar. And so all of those guidelines are followed with this. We've had the admin team review it, as well as the department chairs prior to bringing it to the board.
Does this come to the board for approval? Or?
Yes, you would need to approve it.
So what's the difference between the first shift, second shift, third shift?
It's basically, second and third shift work on Sundays.
Okay.
And they work through Thursday as opposed to Monday through Friday. So sometimes that'll affect a holiday. And unfortunately, this year, by law, Veterans Day is the only holiday that a school in North Carolina is required to have off. And unfortunately, it falls on a Wednesday. And so getting residential students here on Sunday, taking them home on Tuesday, bringing them back on Thursday, and bringing them home on Friday is not really a good option. So it, unfortunately, you do miss a little bit of time because of that.
Has this been in place for a long, long time? This,
For Veterans Day.
yeah,
Well, Veterans Day changes days of the week every year.
but right now it's right in the,
Yes, so unfortunately.
Yes, Gary.
Farmer speaking. After having a conversation with Sandy in Morganton, she said that they lost one whole week of education up there because of snow, especially on the higher elevations where they have to send the buses. So I said, well, how will you make that time up? And she said, we go longer on our school day every day. So we're not having to make up any of that. So I called our superintendent and I just told her that, that's all. She assured me also that we do the same thing here. So we have in escrow some days maybe public schools don't have. So we don't have to make up some of those. So that's just for your information.
Any questions?
This is Kevin. Yeah, I remember when I was a young boy, we had school Saturday morning. Every Saturday morning from 8 until 12. Yeah, that means that's why you're so smart now, Kevin. You made me mad. Yeah.
You were never a little boy, you were always a big boy.
When I was a kid, yeah, I had to go to school Saturday morning. I missed my cartoons.
You were born big, Kevin.
I think we have a coup.
So do we have any questions on the calendar? So this is the only thing we get approved.
Yes.
All right.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Farmer speaking. I move the ENCSD Board of Trustees go into closed session. Not going in, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, then let's go back. I move that we accept the school calendar, first, second, third shift as presented. How's that?
That's right. Moved.
Second.
Second by Dave Dolan. All in favor? All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you. Okay. Now.
Ready? All right. Farmer speaking. I'll now try to take you into closed session.
Okay, good.
I move the ENCSD Board of Trustees go into closed session to consider personnel matters as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A6 and 115C-321, and to consult with the Board of Education attorney and preserve the attorney-client privilege as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A3, and to formulate plans relating to emergency response to incidents of school violence, or to formulate and adopt the school safety components of the school improvement plan by the Board of School Improvement Team as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A
8.
So it's been moved that we go into closed session. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Not sure it's necessary. Thank you. Motion carried. So we're going to take a